This is a podcast from the Bugle.
The year is 2147. The cities are neon-drenched mazes, their skies choked with smoke and static. The only gods left are speed and survival. The blinding streaks of headlights tear through the rain. Hackers hardwire vehicles. A brutal crash in slow motion. A lone driver steps out of a sleek vehicle, their visor reflecting a glowing cityscape. In the shadows of the sprawl of the Forbidden Quadrant, they gather. Drivers, outlaws, adrenaline junkies, each one desperate or proud or stupid enough to risk it all in the circuit. A deadly underground gauntlet where souped-up war machines roar across the city. Some race for power, some for revenge, and others for a chance to escape the chaos. The prize? The Gargle. This is the Gargle, the sonic glossy magazine to the Bugle's audio newspaper for a visual world. I'm your host, Alice Fraser, and your guest editors for this week's edition of the Gargle, bringing you all of the news, none of the politics, are Eleanor Morton and Rob Auton. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. I love that your names rhyme, and so you're a poem whenever you're together.
Aww. Which isn't often.
No.
You ever met?
Yeah, a couple of times, but I always see Eleanor in Edinburgh walking. You're one of the people who I see knocking around.
I do knock around a lot. I walk everywhere, and I'm always furious at comedians and tourists and everyone. So probably had a scary expression last time you saw me.
Yeah, I'm normally quite furious in Edinburgh as well.
It's stressful.
I have a lovely time in Edinburgh, but that's because I don't read reviews or look at audience numbers.
I feel like you live in a lovely bubble of calm that you've curated that somehow rises above you.
Mainly involves ignoring reality.
Yeah.
But before we leap into the rhyming couplets that is this week's top stories, let's have a look at the front cover of the magazine. This week, in our special Christmas edition, the front cover of the magazine is a sexy Mrs. Claus advertising the new season of Real Housewives of Cryptid Mythos, hosted by Mackenzie Scott, ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, if that is his real name. The Real Housewives of Cryptid Mythos include Lady Bigfoot, Mr. Loch Ness, and the Easter Bunnet. Tune in this Christmas for all the fights, magic spells, and eternal curses you've come to know and love. And the satirical cartoon this week is a group of Hollywood executives in the content mines pitching a gritty prequel of the Mona Lisa as a toddler. What's that expression she's making? She's doing a poo. And that brings us to the top story of this week, which is the news that designer babies are growing up. That is to say, babies who were born as a result of gene editing and selection software are now coming to terms with the fact that their parents picked them out of a box-ticking exercise. Rob Auton, you were born fully formed. Can you unpack this story for us?
Yeah, well, when I read this article, it made me... I really liked it when they said, now a lot of these people are full-on kids. And I just thought that was quite interesting of being like a full-on kid. Instead of just being, I don't know what these people expect. Like, what is it? You're trying to like manufacture something you can't manufacture, and trying to tame the beast that is humanity. And how do you do that? Well, get some like posh sperm. Is that right?
Well, more or less, people believing that they can select certain traits in their embryos and have perfect children. Turns out that doing that to your children doesn't lead to particularly satisfied teenagers, if there is such a thing as satisfied teenagers, but they didn't select the right gene for satisfied teenagers. They selected the right genes for like intelligence and blue eyes and a jawline, and now the intelligent blue-eyed jawlined teenager is calling them an asshole and slamming their door, I guess.
Yeah, they're too intelligent.
Yeah, it seems that way. In the article it said that something to do with people giving birth to furniture. Did you see that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And then it made me think of like, wouldn't it be amazing if you got if someone got pregnant and you didn't know what you were going to have? Like it was a complete lottery. So not a person, or it could be a person. If you get really lucky, you have a person, but it could be like a microwave or, and it's just like, yeah, what are you going to have? Not sure.
Is it like one of the those old-fashioned game shows where there's a conveyor belt of prizes?
Yeah, speedboat.
Yeah. I'd rather have a speedboat, but I mean, I'd have to have a cesarean if that was the case.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? It'd just be like, that would be a good TV show. Or an episode of Black Mirror, as people say.
I was disappointed when I read this because the articles I read were all, I think, misleading. They made me think at first that this was about therapists, because all these children have to go to therapy because they're all messed up. But I thought it was therapists for designer babies, as in babies who are really fancy, like a therapist for babies. And then they're all quite posh babies, which I was like, wow. I mean, God, everyone's messed up now, aren't they? Like, you can't even get through 1 to 3 years old without needing to go and talk about it. But yeah, no, they're all teenagers, and they're all. It's eugenics, isn't it? Isn't it? Can we say it's eugenics, or is that too controversial?
I mean, it is sort of it's top end eugenics without the sort of nastier bottom end of the eugenics in this. It's sort of the rich people having the kinds of babies that they think they want. But I mean, when I read the headline, it just throws me into the mindset of like a 90s comic of like, who designed a baby? They're terribly designed. Big heads and wibbly wobbly arms and no sense of balance at all.
Tiny drunk people. Yeah, I'm really glad my parents did not design me or have any expectations. I mean, now it means that they don't seem to be particularly disappointed or proud. They're very neutral on all stances. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I believe in classic designing a baby, which is that your eyes meet across a crowded room, and then all of a sudden you find out how much plastic surgery they had by what their children look like.
I wonder what if you gave your parents a choice of like, okay, here's 5, today's the day, 5 things that you can change about me, go for it. You got 24 hours, and then it actually happens. That would be interesting.
Well, I guess in a way, people design their babies. If you have, the people who have 10 babies, they're obviously trying to get to the perfect baby. It's just that all the failed experiments are also on display. I mean, my parents had 2 girls and then a boy, and then they stopped. So it feels kind of like they wanted a boy, but who can say?
My parents had boy-girl twins, and then they stopped. They succeeded.
You've nailed it. Yeah. What would you change about your baby, Alice, if you could? Is that a very dark question? If you could design it, would you make it more like Gucci or
just tiny Louis Vuitton?
Yeah, just a fancier baby.
No, my baby is perfect in every respect. It's a very cute thing to have a baby.
Well, that means that your baby's never going to become incredibly rich but weird and disillusioned CEO. So you've set that up to fail, I think, Alice.
Yeah, I'm flabbergasted by anyone who's disappointed in their children, because you can remember when they, would occasionally forget to breathe the first night they're born because they haven't figured that out, and you lie awake waiting for them to stop breathing for like 3 seconds. It's terrifying. And so any skill level above that to me is mind-blowingly impressive. Your ads now, because you can't be what you can't buy. This holiday season, forget grand romantic gestures, forget love, get ready for Well, Actually, a gritty reboot of the classic you thought you loved. This is Love Actually Part 2. In a world where every opinion needs correcting, watch as 12 lives collide in a whirlwind of hot takes, unsolicited feedback, and a never-ending comment section. Well, Actually, coming to theatres and your favourite forum threads this Christmas. And so you've invested in a real live Christmas tree, just a small one. You've dressed it up in lights, you've surrounded it with presents, but it doesn't look happy. What can you have done wrong? Your family always had plastic trees. Have you forgot to water it? Try half a glass of water. Age 2, ho ho ho. And an actual real world ad here. This is my book, A Passion for Passion, which is coming out on the 5th of February. There'll be a launch party in London on the 5th of February. Go to patreon.com/Alice Fraser or my website, alicefraser.com for tickets. Now it's time for Black Plastic News, or Black Plastic News now, which is the news that Black Plastic News is greatly exaggerated. Eleanor Morton, you love a bit of black plastic. Can you unpack this story for us?
I cannot get enough. So basically, there was a maths calculation error over the sort of levels of certain chemicals in black plastics that you use in things like spatulas and other kitchenware. That meant that people or scientists were suddenly freaking out that we were all ingesting dangerous levels of this chemical every time we used a spatula. But it turns out someone did the sum wrong and we're actually fine. And I have to say, I'm glad I'm not in charge of it, because when I saw the incorrect sum, I thought, no, that's right. I'm sure that's right. I'm sure there was like there was a similarly historic error
Popeye.
where someone...
They did that with Popeye and spinach.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes, they said you need X amount of spinach, but they got it wrong by like 1,000 times or something.
Spinach had, they said spinach had like this enormous amount of iron in it. And so people were like shoving spinach down their children's throats. It turns out spinach is actually incredibly healthy, but just for different reasons than the reasons that they thought it was.
Which is disappointing because I hate spinach. But yes. So I mean, even if there was dangerous levels of chemicals in black plastics, wouldn't you have to be like licking your spatula all day for it to, I don't know, make a difference?
I mean, do you mean you're not licking your spatula all day?
Oh no. I have to say though, I mean, I had a pan in my kitchen that was getting really scratched, and my boyfriend said, you're gonna get cancer from the carcinogens released by that, and I was like, yeah. Which is funny for a hypochondriac. Normally I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, but I really didn't get around to fixing that for ages. So yeah, I think like most of these stories, people tend to ignore them anyway because we're all just tired. Like we know smoking kills us, we know drinking kills us, and yet we do it. But licking spatulas isn't as delicious as drinking, so it's difficult. But yeah, it is one of the. It's quite old school, really. One of those. Does this give you cancer stories? It's quite vintage.
It does. I feel like this is quite a retro theme. In the spirit of Christmas, we've got designer babies, which feels very early 2000s to me, and now we've got things trying to kill you in your kitchen. Yeah. Rob?
I think the article was trying to make out that anything like that's black in plastic was made from like a recycled black TVs. Was that a thing?
Yeah.
Basically, yes. Yeah, that they could get this recycled plastic cheaply, and that came back into the system because it couldn't be cleaned or something like that.
Which I thought that was really interesting, thinking about... Once I had an idea, I tried to imagine that everything I saw that was black was licorice, like made out of licorice. That's fun. Walk around looking at guttering, thinking that's made out of licorice. Car tyres.
As long as you don't follow through.
Yeah. The levels of flame retardants in black household items are of high concern. Do you think they are?
I mean, the story is that they was of too high concern, and it should only be of moderate concern. Actually.
Okay, yeah, moderate concern. I can take that.
I mean, being alive is a moderate concern. I think I saw something recently about candles not being, burning candles not being good, and that's all I do all day long. So, she died doing what she loved. Oh, come on, Alice. Come on.
Worrying about cancer causes cancer.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I have got hypochondria, which is a anxiety disorder that makes you so stressed about maybe dying that you might die. Also, I was thinking about this because black plastic is very hard to recycle, and I was thinking, isn't it weird that, I mean, maybe they'll ban me from the store now, but isn't it weird that Lush, who really pride themselves on being environmentally friendly, all of their stuff is black plastic? They must have started that before they knew that you couldn't recycle it, because you can bring it back to the store and recycle it, but that's it. That's just a observation. I think they've shot themselves in the foot there, but they can't get rid of it all now, because then that would be really wasteful.
Oh no, they've created a trap, a paradox.
Have you ever used a bath bomb in the shower? Talking about Lush.
No, but they do have this thing called like a shower bomb, which is meant to be like you put it in the shower and it releases sort of scent and things.
Oh, really?
But it's not as effective. It's not as effective. Have you?
No, I haven't. But it's something that I'd like to do.
Yeah, you could be the first.
There is so little stopping you, Rob. There's just nothing in your way. There are no gatekeepers on this.
This is it. Do you know what? I think that I should do a painting. There is so little stopping you, Rob. Maybe I should just have that played over and over again in my head, because it's tattooed. Like, you've got to have that positive affirmation. There is nothing stopping you, Rob. It's like there isn't. get a bath bomb, put it on top of your head in the shower, stand directly under the shower, all colour running down your face.
Yeah, strap it to the head of the shower in a little mesh
Yeah.
bag.
Yes.
Yeah, then it would turn into sort of Willy Wonka-esque, colourful foam.
Going back to pans, I had a really bad pan incident the other day when I was on Tottenham Court Road, and there was this shop, really well lit shop, looked like a very good shop, and I saw a pan that was on offer, and I bought it. I did a couple of meals with it, and then all the non-stick went into me, I think. And
that's what happened to me, yeah.
I mean, this is the problem, because that's non-stick that's doing its job. If it won't even stick to the pan, surely it's the non-stickiest non-stick that ever non-stuck.
Very true.
Exactly, yeah. And if it is the non-stickiest non-stick that's never stuck, then it won't have stuck in me either, so we're all good.
And that brings us to our reviews section. As you know, each week we ask our guest editors to review something out of 5 stars. Eleanor, what have you brought in for us this week?
Advent calendars. It is the season, and I'm on day 18. Well, we're all on day 18. I still get advent calendars as an adult because every year my mum says, "Oh, maybe not this year," and then we all make a sad face, and she goes, "Okay, yes, okay." I think it's just a great way to start the day. You open the little door, you get a little chocolate, and if you are so inclined, you can learn about the baby Jesus. But if not, there's also options not to. My one has. My one's a fair trade one, and it's got the story of the nativity. Sort of each window, you get a little bit of it, and it's fascinating. I'm blown away every time, the twists and the turns. But I think it's a nice. It's just the right amount of chocolate not to feel like it's unhealthy, and it's a great way to start the day. And I'm giving it 5 stars. Although my boyfriend doesn't open his until the evening, which I think is crazy. Yeah, Alice's reaction says it all. That's crazy.
I mean, that seems wild to me. That seems like somebody who would have passed the marshmallow test too well.
Yeah, the levels of discipline you'd have to have for that.
I've got the most obnoxious advent calendar for my daughter, which is one with a little book every day. It's a little book.
Oh,
it's got all the classics. Princess and the Pea. It's got the frog. It's a lot of princesses. But they've done that thing that modern books do, where they try to rewrite the love story. And sort of at the end of it, it's like, and after a few years, when they got to know each other really well, they decided to get married. It's like, no, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, she defeated toxic masculinity by drawing a firm boundary by throwing the frog up against a wall, and then she thought he was dead, and then he was a prince. And actually just throwing a man against a wall is sometimes all you need to do to make him respect you enough to marry you. I don't know what the moral of that story is.
That's very charming, though. I like that.
Well, 5 stars for advent calendars. Rob, what have you brought in for us this week? I've
bought these blonde chocolate caramelized pecans from Marks and Spencer's.
Oh.
You ever had these?
No,
I'd never had them either. But these are a solid 5 stars because they're quite big, Oh,
that is big, yeah.
But I didn't know what I was going to get when I tasted one of these, and turns out I really like pecans. And a caramelized pecan and then covered in chocolate is very, very, very nice. And I also would like to comment on the size of the tin. It kind of reminded me of that scene in Saving Private Ryan where the guy's collecting mud from different countries and putting it into these metal containers. So I think that maybe that's something that I will do with this.
It's a nice tin as well. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing.
Yeah, it's a good tin. And I got these for doing a charity gig, and I thoroughly recommend them. 5 stars from me. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever rated anything. I don't really go on like podcast comment sections and rate things out of 5. I'm not a reviewer.
There you go, reviewers. It's so easy to give stuff 5 stars, isn't it, reviewers? Look, you just say 5 stars. That was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Everyone should show Rob how you review this podcast 5 stars by giving it 5 stars.
Hey, nice. There you go.
And that brings us to our hot, or is it news, which is the news that apparently one of the foreseen victims of climate change is spice. Chili peppers are getting less hot, which feels like a tragedy. I don't know. Do you like spicy things, Eleanor?
Well, whatever your guess is, it's correct. I don't believe that all white people are bad with spice, but I do believe that I am one of those white people who's very bad with spice. And yeah, no, I'm not devastated at all by this news, because I think, I mean, I always, in the supermarkets they got the little chili ratings when you buy the chilies. I always go for 2 chilies out of 5, because there isn't a 1 chili out of 5. Otherwise, I would go for that. But yeah, it's something to do with droughts, I think. Basically, they're quite temperamental, the chili plants, and the more extreme weather, the more the chili plants sort of fail to thrive, and then that can muck up their spiciness, which again is not an issue for me. But people get very invested in chili stuff, hot things. There's competitions to eat the most chili things. There's all sorts of stuff. So I feel like there is a whole industry that may be decimated, and it is kind of linked as well to other plants, because apparently they said coffee is also getting more bitter because of climate change, which I am sad about because I do like coffee. So yeah, is there nothing climate change won't ruin? No. Black plastic maybe.
Black plastic, maybe. Rob?
I'm a big fan of chili sauce, as in to put on chicken. I really like the bomb that is off one of the YouTube channels that is a ridiculously...
Oh.
Have you ever had it?
No. What is it?
It comes in quite a small bottle, and it's kind of almost brown. It's reddy brown, very in colour, and yeah, it's just very, very, very unpleasant. And every time I have it, I think never again.
But then you do.
Yeah, it's like having a hangover, and you think, nah, that's it now, and then you get the taste for it again, don't you? And you think, no,
Yeah,
getting back on the horse.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the bottle. It's got one of those nuclear waste warning signs on it. So, but yeah, I mean it's a bit of a masochist's treat. Chilies. I mean, I do like. Listen, if this is going to ruin Hot Ones, which is a great show, I will be very upset.
Yeah,
there's not going to be any fun in seeing Russell Crowe just eat 5 mild chicken wings. That's not a story.
I mean, it'd be a real test of their acting skills, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it is all a lie. Maybe they don't. Maybe it is all mild anyway. Mixed feelings. I don't like climate change, but I also don't like chilies, so kind of evens itself out.
You must decide, Eleanor. Climate change, or you must eat. You must eat increasingly spicy wings to hold off the fate of the world. And that brings us to 'Tis the Season News, our annual story about a vicar telling children that Santa Claus is not real. This happens every year, and every year we cover it with increasing delight. Local vicar telling children that they need to stop believing in the jolly man that gives presents and start believing in the slightly less jolly man that gives presents only after you die. Rob, how do you feel about ruining the magic of Christmas from the magic of the pulpit?
I'm against ruining the magic of Christmas from the pulpit, strangely. My favourite thing about this article was that the teachers started handing out badges saying believe on them to kids. So the kids were just wearing badges saying believe, and I love that. And I really want to get a badge that says believe on it. But no, what can you say about vicars kind of telling people what's real and what's not?
I always thought of Santa as sort of training wheels for Jesus, kind of the thin end of the wedge, to sort of, if you believe in one, you'll believe in them all, kind of.
Training wheels for Jesus is a very good name for something. An album. But no, I couldn't believe it. And then he said that the children's parents were eating the biscuits that they were leaving out for the reindeers or for Father Christmas. Like, come on.
Come on, at least pretend it's rats. In my house, it was.
Oh, really? So it was year 6, which I don't actually know the Scottish equivalent. Is that 10-year-olds? What age is year 6?
In Australia, it would be sort of 11-year-olds.
Yeah. Okay. So now, look, I don't want to judge children here. I do think when I was 11, I may have stopped believing in Santa Claus by then. So I don't know how much. How much do I believe that the children were all crying 11-year-olds is when you start to kind of become aware of like social etiquette and norms, and you start to feel uncool and awkward and things. So would you burst into tears if you were to, I don't know, but
I remember bursting into tears when I was 5 because I went to my dad and I said, "Death. We're all going to die." And he said, "Yes, Alice, life is suffering and then you die."
yeah, your dad sounds like my dad. It's very straight. He's a scientist, and there's really no room for romance in that. But yeah, for romantic notions. Yeah, I remember very much believing in Santa Claus when I was 5, and then very much not when I was 11. But I do think as well, to be fair to the vicar, it must be quite frustrating to have people, if because I think Christmas is a cultural thing as much as a religious thing that everyone should be able to celebrate in countries where it is a thing. But I understand that Christians must also be a bit frustrated by the the less Christian parts of it. And I do think he is doing his job sort of to be like, look, this is about Jesus, not that other guy. But then I don't know. I mean, who can say?
I mean, if you think the Christians are frustrated, think about how frustrated the pagans are. Don't get to wind anyone's intestines out around a tree anymore.
Well, Santa is.
That's where
very
tinsel
pagan.
came from. Come on.
No way. What color are your intestines? But I like Rob. I like the badges. I thought that was very sort of moral panicky to produce badges that said "believe." That it felt like something very political there as well. And I don't know how many children would actually have put on 11-year-olds again would have put on a badge that said "believe." I'd be interested to see the stats.
11-year-olds aren't listening to the vicar anyway. They're listening to Andrew Tate.
No.
We need to get Andrew Tate in the pocket of Big Santa. Tell him that that's what real masculinity is.
Get him in a Santa suit for the most horrible grotto in the world.
I would not give that man a disguise if you gave me $1 million.
That's very
the
true.
last thing he
Yes.
needs.
He does not need any more help.
And that brings us to our final story of this week's episode of The Gargle, which is the news that air fryers may be listening in on people's conversations. Now, if this is my dad's air fryer, all it will ever hear is how good his air fryer is. So it'll be an air fryer with a big ego. Rob Auton, are you listening to your appliances and are they listening back to you?
I feel like our air fryer was listening to us and then we put it on free cycle. But what's an air fryer going to do with the information that people are saying to air fryers, Our air fryer didn't have a microphone on it, I don't think. But if they are, what's it picking up? Everyone just saying, "Oh, I can't believe how much stuff we can put in here. Look how versatile this machine is." What are they going to do with that?
It would be funny if they automatically came with microphones and no one ever questioned it until now. They were just like, hang on a second, why does it have a microphone?
Well, apparently they're sending some of our personal data back to China and Chinese servers, and that's considered a breach of sort of data security. But of course, this is only, I assume, if you have an air fryer that you then connect to an app on your phone and give it all your data.
Yeah, but what type of app are you connecting to an air fryer? Could it be something saying like a recipe app?
Air fryer companion. It's for people who want a boyfriend or girlfriend and air fryer in one.
It'll suggest artificial intelligence recipes for new things to put in the air fryer.
By this point, the Chinese have so much data on us. How much more do they need? Are they? I think they're just weirdly obsessed with our day-to-day activity, not for political reasons, just because they're nosy. Like, what else do they need to know about us?
I think it's a lost cause. I think you're right, Eleanor. I think we need to reverse the polarity on this fear of people taking our data. We just accept that everyone's taking our data.
Yeah.
And you know what happens if you're breastfeeding and you've got a biting baby? One of the suggestions is when the baby bites is not to, fling it away shrieking, but it's to push the baby's face towards your boob so then they open their mouth so that they can breathe. So I'm suggesting what we do is we fire hose our information out into the world.
We give the Chinese government so much information that they say, please stop. We don't want to know any more about your boring lives.
Ugh, it's so dull. Yeah. Shut up, Kevin. That's what I want. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I was delighted to find out that we might have to get rid of air fryers because all I do hear from people is how great they are. And I don't have one, so I'm sick of it. But if that's what spies want to hear, people talking about their air fryers, then maybe the spies just need some gentle, fun listening. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe they're sick of eavesdropping on dark, horrible political conversations, and they just want to hear people go, "Oh, wow, broccoli! I didn't think it could taste this good."
Or like ASMR of potatoes roasting in an air fryer.
Yeah, the crackling.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of The Gargle. I'm flipping through the ad section at the back. Eleanor, have you got anything to plug?
Yeah, I've got a book out, as always, plugging away. It's called Life Lessons from Historical Women. It is about women from history that I think are interesting and cool, 18 stories. Hopefully it's funny as well. It's coming out in paperback soon as well, which means it will be slightly cheaper. So yes, you can get that in all good and bad bookstores.
I have a copy on order.
Yay!
So I'm excited to read it. Rob, have you got anything to plug?
I'm going on tour next year at the end of January, pretty much everywhere, doing my show called The Eyes Open and Shut Show. And that you can get tickets from robauton.co.uk.
robauton.co.uk, and you can find me online at patreon.com/Alice Fraser. It's a one-stop shop for all of my stand-up specials, podcasts and blogs, as well as my weekly salons. I am at the moment about to start running a New Year reboot between the 27th of December and the 7th of January, the Gooch of the Year, which is sort of usually an empty sort of space where I drift around wishing I was getting something started. And so I've decided this year you can come, you can sign up, it's £20 a day, and we have like a class in the morning and like challenges, and then a Discord so you can chat to each other, and you can ideally run into the new year with a good creative practice on the go rather than making resolutions and failing them. We're going to all do it together, and it will be a lot of fun, and it will also help pay for my flights to London, where I will be doing a tour around the UK of my show A Passion for Passion, which will be launching my book A Passion for Passion. So you can come to the show and buy the book and come to the reboot and support all of my stuff. This is a Bugle podcast and Alice Fraser production. Your editor is Ped Hunter. Your executive producer is Chris Skinner. I'll talk to you again next week.
You can listen to other programmes from The Bugle, including The Bugle, Catharsis, Tiny Revolutions, Top Stories and The Gargle, wherever you find your podcasts.